Isn't it strange how adventures and challenges find you when you are not even seeking them? After reuniting, everything that Brian and I dreamt of was just having a simple, quiet, and stress-free living. And of course, we are making our way towards it, but our path has a lot of pretty painful bumps. And what happened to us recently made us think a lot about honesty in sharing opinions and reviews, and also the stigma of talking about negative experiences. And that's why we want to share something that we want to share today. Hey my friends, if you're new here, I'm Anna, Anastasia, and this channel is about everything that is mindful, minimalist, and creative. Brian and I are currently in Montenegro, in the city of a town of Bar on the coast of the Adriatic Sea. It's a very quiet, serene, and family-oriented town with lots of construction going on. And actually the new town is built along the coast, kind of, so it nests between the sea and beautiful mountains, while the old city is, which is called Stari Bar, is situated uphill, and unfortunately we didn't get to go there, but hopefully next time. Here we enjoy hanging out on the pebble beach, having delicious meals, or watching movies in our tiny, somewhat hippish but very cute Airbnb. And also this town is absolutely windy. People are very welcoming and kind, and they smile huge each time I'm trying to speak their language. And after 4 days spending in the serene bar, we've almost recovered from a nightmare of a trip that we had on our way here. So let me explain what happened. We decided to take a train from Belgrade to Bar, as it's considered one of the most scenic and spectacular train routes in Europe. The train crosses over 400 bridges and passes over 200 dark tunnels. The ride itself officially takes around 11 hours, but we spent more than 13 hours. In summer season, there is a day train to Bar and a night train to Bar, but as officially summer season opens only on the 17th of June here, we kind of were forced to take a night train. And honestly, we never regretted that decision, because at least we could enjoy some cool night air from the window, because there was no air conditioning on the train at all. And the train is very old, like it was built in the 70s, and it really shows. We took a 2-bed coupe in the second class because we wanted to have some privacy and quietness, because Brian and I are both highly sensitive people, and too much of communication with co-travelers can be very exhausting for us. So for one way for 2 people, we paid overall around $79. And on our way to Bar, we had 2 passport control points, one with Serbians, which was super smooth, super quick, and one with Montenegrins. And I will let Brian talk about this.
First, I'd like to preface this by saying that in no way does this incident reflect badly on the country of Montenegro or Montenegrins for us. This can happen in any country. This is passport control, and in this particular situation, we just got the wrong 2 guys. So with saying that, what happened was early in the morning, once we arrived at the border of Serbia and Montenegro, we were checked at a random stop by passport control for Serbia, It was really quick. They were very polite. They just came to the cabin that we were in, knocked on the door, looked at our passports, stamped it, and we were on our way. So it's different in every country, but in this situation, we assumed that that was sort of the end of it since we were at the border. Sometimes with border control, just depending on your mode of transportation, you can have, you know, one country check you, and then the country that you're going in, the country that you're exiting will check you, and then the country that you're entering will check you. In this particular situation, I think that we both just assumed that maybe it was just one check and that was done. The reason being is it was about another hour, and we were we weren't far into Montenegro, but we reached a town called Bielo, which is the first major train station stop in northeast Montenegro. So we were stopped at the station for a while, and everything seemed fine. And then the cabin attendant came by and knocked on the doors and told everyone to get their passports out. And before we knew it, we had two men appear before our door. And first they looked at Nastia's passport, and she has a Russian passport, and it was very quick. They just looked at it, asked no questions, stamped it. And as soon as I handed my passport to the first passport control agent, he looked at my passport, said Amerikansky, looked at his colleague, and you could tell that something was strange. So his colleague walked away, and he started to look at my passport more thoroughly, asked where we were staying, and I showed him on my phone. I had the Airbnb contact that we were staying with, so I immediately opened my phone, showed it to him where we were staying, and then he said, "Oh no, I need a phone number." And so I was able to produce that immediately for him. And then he said, "Oh no, we need special papers." And Nastia and I just looked at each other, completely confused about some, you know, mythical special papers. And so we kind of went around for a little while. And keep in mind, for those of you that would say, at this point, you would sort of stand up to the border control. I can understand in certain situations, but keep in mind we were on a train, and we were isolated. So his colleague had walked off to one part of the train, most likely just to keep people away. And the car attendant was nowhere to be found. So we only had this one officer in front of us, and we had no sleep, and it was really early morning, and he kind of had us backed into our compartment with no one around to witness. So he just kept saying special papers, and said there will be a problem if you don't have special papers. And I said, of course I don't have a paper, and tried to find out the name of the special papers that he was asking for. And it didn't take us long to realize that he wanted money. So without trying to be too direct about it, I opened up my wallet where my passport was, and then multiple currencies that we had with train tickets. And I kind of acted like I was looking at the train tickets, and I could see him looking inside. And so then I grabbed like a $20 bill, and he just looked at me and kind of nodded. And so I grabbed another 20, and he just kept nodding, like as if he wanted more, until I had to pay him $80. As soon as I gave him the $80, he said, "Okay," and then just took my passport, stamped it, and we were on our way. So, of course, just keep in mind that this all happened really quickly, early in the morning, completely unexpected for Montenegro for us. And it only took about a minute for us to go from just being shocked to, you know, pretty upset and angry. So I was able to shoot some footage of them walking away, and you just never know what the reason was. Perhaps this is something that happens often. Perhaps it's something that's not. Perhaps he thought that I had money because I was American, or maybe this particular person didn't like Americans. It doesn't really matter what the reason was. It just happened. And in that situation, the best thing we could have done is just what we did. because otherwise they could have easily separated Nastia and me, and we've been apart for 2.5 years, so it would have been a pretty awful for us to be suddenly separated and have to figure that out again because of, you know, we basically refused to give a bribe. So yeah, that was the situation. We paid for it. I think it's good to talk about just because it gives a heads up for people that, you know, this could happen to them. Something tells me we're not the first people that it happened to. Once the cabin agent came back around with our ticket, I gave him a very mean look because I kind of felt like he probably knows that that sort of thing is happening. Not to suggest he was in on it, but you never know. So, you know, there's good parts and bad parts to travel. That happened, and yeah, at this point we enjoyed our time in Montenegro and we're just kind of moving on with it, but we think it's a good public service just to let people know.
It's a train. Like, ironically, our Airbnb is situated right by the railway. You know what? It was actually the same train from Belgrade to Bar. I recognized it. So yeah, it's a good time for filming this video. Getting ready for the trip, we haven't found any evidences or warnings about anything that has happened to us. And by no means we want to say that it's a regular practice, because we simply don't know. We are just sharing what we encountered being an international couple traveling. Yes, it was very upsetting. And the main takeaway is the following: never keep your money in one place. Just have a dedicated wallet with small amount of cash for situations like that. And I know that you can say like, stand your grounds or don't give them anything, but we didn't want to risk anything because we are in a foreign country, and as a Russian I know too well about the levels of corruption that can be present in a given country. So it can be a very scary situation. So that's why we just decided to give them what they wanted, because it was the easiest and the safest way out for us. Yes, it's humiliating, utterly frustrating and disrespectful, but we did our best not to let this crappy incident ruin our trip. And here we are in the coastal city of Bar, just trying to gain the feeling of our family back. And it's absolutely impossible to form any type of solid opinion about a country visiting just only one city for a very short period of time. But we want to come back to explore more, because we can see how much this country, beautiful country of Montenegro, can offer people. This is all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, my friends. Please feel free to share in the comment what you think. What would you do in our place on the train, or what you think about sharing honest opinions and reviews, because you know how tricky it can be, as no one wants to form any sort of biased opinion. And probably there were similar cases like ours before, although people were kind of afraid or embarrassed to talk about them. So, but anyway, life continues, and you be safe and keep your heart open, and I hope to see you soon. Пока-пока.